Okay, we're going to get into the second part of Chapter 11 now, and I've got just a couple things that I want to discuss before we move on here. I want to kind of go over the differences between what a jail and a prison is. Some people get these terms confused, but it's important that you know what the difference is. A jail is typically a short-term confinement facility. It's basically held for pretrial detainees or for individuals who have typically been sentenced to less than, say, 6 months to a year to prison. They are actually going to serve that time in jail. So it's for pretrial detainees and typically sentenced misdemeanants who are typically only going to do a couple of months instead of a year-long sentence. A prison is for individuals who are sentenced typically to anywhere from 6 months to a year, depending on your state, or more in a confinement facility. That's going to be a prison. In North Carolina, every county has to have a jail. That's by state constitutional law. The county runs the jail. The county has to fund it. So if your county is overcrowded as jail populations go, it's the county's responsibility to build one. Prisons are run by the state of North Carolina. So the Department of Corrections, Department of Public Safety, Division of Corrections actually operates the prisons here, and you can go on their website and locate some of the prisons that are located in your area, but those are state-run facilities. We talked a little bit last time about some of the characteristics of the inmates, and we're going to have some assignments this time that actually look at educational opportunities, or educational attainments, I should say, of individuals. But one of the things that I want to focus on is gender, and especially women in prisons. We're going to take a look at some of the special issues that women entering facilities that have. A part of the problem is women come in, and some of the research shows many women come in with mental health issues, substance abuse issues. As a matter of fact, one of the research reports that I read said about 25 to 30% of women who enter jails and prisons have had a past history of sexual abuse and drug abuse. So we're entering the mental health aspect that comes in as well. But not only that, many of the women who are entering jails and prisons have either just given birth or are the sole provider for a child. So you've got a lot of single mothers that are entering these institutions. And that's some of the things that we have to look at as a society. We know that the first year of bonding between a mother and a child is very important in that child's life. So we have to address the issue of the number of women that are entering a prison facility if they have small children or if they have just given birth. The other thing that I want to mention, and this has been kind of a phenomena that we've seen in the past 10 years or so, is the idea of private prisons. States are building, or at one time building prisons at a breakneck speed. North Carolina was building maximum security prisons every couple of years. And by the way, these prisons would cost around $100 million to build. So these are 1,000 bed maximum security prisons, and it's costing the state a lot of money to build and to staff them. So what we had happen was basic economics. We had corporations that started coming into states, and they were saying, hey, we can build prisons cheaper and we can house inmates cheaper than you can. And there are several companies that are out there now that actually build prisons, staff them, and they lease the prison space to states for inmates. And we call those private prisons. We're going to be looking at a couple of the institutions that are private prisons and the companies that operate them. Now, as you can imagine, there are several questions that come about because of these. Number one, if a private prison does it or a private company operates these, are they going to operate them to the same standards that the state would? Or are they going to cut corners? Are they going to cut back on prisoner rights? How constitutionally can we hold these officers to the same standards as a state officer, even though they're employed by a private company? So there are a whole lot of issues that come about with private prisons as well, and we're going to look at some of those. So if you've got any questions or comments, please post them up in the Q&A forum or email me.